that's the thing that I also want to talk to you is about Hollywood, right? So I know you say you don't watch a lot of movies, but are there any OG movies out there that you're a fan of? Because I'm a fan
Again,
of a lot, like a
like
lot.
OG movies. Okay, you can say the Fast and the Furious. Okay, from
That's not an OG movie, Julius. That's from like 2002 or
oh one.
2001. I mean, that's kind of was current, but they got stupider now. I mean, like something like old school, like in the 70s, 80s, maybe 90s.
Oh,
Aliens, Terminator, Predator.
Quentin Tarantino style movies. Clockwork Orange. That's one of my favorite movies. Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Inglorious Bastards. Absolute masterpiece.
So basically, you love all of Quentin Tarantino's movies.
Quentin Tarantino movies are just like it's just like jam, honestly.
Oh yeah.
You just don't know what's gonna happen next until you watch it. It's like, oh shit, that's actually quite good.
But besides Quentin Tarantino, right? I'll put it this way, basically, and if you don't, it's absolutely fine. But
Right.
I obviously watch a lot of movies, right? So
Yeah,
I,
of course.
I watched a lot of OG movies where it has a lot of old school actors, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Right,
There's
right.
too many to count. And then besides that, right? Back then, what I liked about about the movies, how they were before, was that you could tell they were creative. If you came up with an idea, obviously some ideas were shot down, but then the majority of the time they were creative because of the fact that studios at the time they were desperate for ideas.
Yeah, you could just tell with the movies that they produced that they wanted to be bold, they wanted to stand out from the crowd.
No, yeah, absolutely. When you do a movie today, now we have independent movies, right?
Yeah,
And now it's kind of switched, in my opinion, right? Because I don't want people to get out there and be butthurt or try to twist my words, right? Because now on the internet, you got to be very specific. It's like things kind of went backwards. Like back then, right? If there was a shitty movie, they would give it a low budget. For instance, horror movies, right? There are a lot of bad horror movies. For instance, like some of the Chucky movies, the Chucky's Bride or the Seed of Chucky.
yeah.
Like those were like straight up like early 2000 movies that you're like, yeah, they're just trying to do a cash grab on it. Or like any of the Halloween Michael Myers movies.
Right.
Like after the second one,
Right, but now these studios want to capitalize on their name, rebrand it into something modern, but at the same time, kind of worse.
Here's what I'm trying to say. Basically, I feel like Hollywood is kind of getting generic. Obviously, that's the title for this podcast. Is Hollywood getting generic? And my answer to that question is yes, very generic. Because Julius, what is the most popular thing out there?
Superhero movies.
Superhero movies, right? Doesn't matter if you're DC, doesn't matter if you're Marvel.
Yeah.
It's just superhero movies, right? And what's so interesting is that there are some actors that are now going towards independent films because it's more creativity, a lesser budget because this is a smaller studio. This isn't Warner Brothers, this isn't Disney, this
Yeah.
is Paramount, this is anything like that. Like smaller, like film studios, like Mandy. Have you ever seen Mandy, the Nicolas Cage movie?
Heard of it? I haven't watched it. No.
Independent movie, really good, really good.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
Nicolas Cage, right? He goes like all out when it comes to his movies. Okay.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And then Leonardo DiCaprio nowadays, you don't see him in too much now.
Yeah, it's really hard to bring someone of that caliber to a film these days. What was the last film that he was in that was actually good?
I know he came out on a movie recently on Netflix. Like there's this new movie came out. I don't know too much about it. I didn't really look too much into it.
Okay, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, that's also pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, I've yet to watch that, but I heard it's really, really good.
What the fuck, Julius? Where have you been?
Under a rock, like Patrick.
My God. Okay, so basically, that proves my point. Like, you don't see like these big actors anymore in certain movies unless it's something that's obviously popular, like superhero movies. Now, here's the thing: when you talk about a regular movie compared to a superhero movie, which one do you think is an easier discussion?
Sorry, can you say that? Can you ask that question again?
If you were to discuss a specific type of movie,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think would be easier to talk about? An old school type of movie with any genre or a superhero movie?
I'll be honest. I'm kind of leaning towards the generic movies from the past rather than superhero movies because it's honestly really hard to keep up with them, especially with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I haven't even
Really?
I haven't even bothered watching the entire series from Iron Man all the way to Endgame.
Oh, really? What was the last Marvel movie you watched?
I have no fucking idea. That's how.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's the thing. Not everybody is into superhero movies, which is great. But unfortunately, the majority is. That's the thing.
That's where the crowd perception is at right now and today. Yeah.
I think it's easier for you, right? Because you're not too into superhero movies. So obviously, to the main genres that we have, horror, romance, action, drama, whatever you want to go with,
Right.
So obviously you're more familiar with some of the ones that you have seen where
Yeah, of course.
because I'm updated with all the movies that are out now, and I know a lot more, obviously. So it's kind of hard to tell you certain things because I feel like you might
Yeah,
not know.
yeah. Don't need to put me on blast like that. Okay.
No, that's not what I mean. But it's interesting though, from someone who doesn't watch too many movies for someone who does. That's actually a really cool thing for me. For someone who does watch a lot of movies, because you know that's what I'm all about. Obviously, from my perspective, it's easier to talk about superhero movies, and I know some people could disagree with that because some people could easily be like, "That's not true," because you got to read the comics. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's like Superman. If you watch a Superman movie, do you really need to read a comic to know who Superman is?
No, obviously not.
Spider-Man. Fucking Spider-Man. Do you really need to read a Spider-Man comic to know who Spider-Man is?
No.
What about Batman?
Hell no.
What's another hero can I think of? Okay, the Hulk.
No.
I'm trying to think of heroes before either the DC universe came out or the Marvel Cinematic Universe came out or the X-Men. Do you need to read a comic to know who the X-Men are?
Why would you need to?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, because it's easier because you already know who they are. Oh, X-Men. I don't know all the characters, but mutants. People don't like them. You know, they're not welcome in society. Gotcha. Yep. Spider-Man. He's a man that has the powers of a spider. Gotcha. You know, Superman. He can do anything. He's basically God.
Batman, big, buff, low voice.
Yeah, doesn't have powers. What makes him cool is that he's dark and that he relies on a lot of gadgets and he's prepared, he's rich, and all this other stuff. Before the Iron Man movie came out, I never knew who Iron Man was, right? Because like when Iron Man first was announced after Spider-Man 3, I remember I was like, Iron Man? Who the fuck is Iron Man? I was like, no, I was a kid. I was like, the next Spider-Man movie. Who's Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
And then you watch the first movie, you're like, oh, it was pretty good. Huh. I kind of want another one, right?
Right.
And then from that,
Captain America and all that kind of stuff, and then so on and so forth.
Like from then on, then that's when they decided to go and try to make a risk and make the Avengers because they wanted to see if they can do it, and obviously they pulled it off.